Yeah, dude, that is so weird.
It's been happening for like every day for like the past like week. It's just
Mate,
stopped.
do you know
I
what I
don't
think
know.
it is? I think it's because I think it's because you've got an Android.
Oh, piss off, man!
Okay.
This is the best phones you can get. That
Nah, I
yeah,
think it
but
is to be fair. Um,
it's weird, man. Like I don't know if anyone else is having the same problem, but I'd be interested to know if it is literally just like me, because I'm sure
well,
people are getting sick of me
oh
doing
yeah,
lives on my.
Tej, do you mind just writing a comment saying if anyone's got any questions, ask them and pin it.
Yeah, let me
Obviously, yeah, I would do, but Ruby, I know, man, they're so crap. Right, cool.
pin it before. Oh, fuck it, everyone's just joining. Pin done. Someone said they're censoring us when we talk about certain things. I mean, I do fire shots, so
Oh,
it could be that.
oh,
It could be that. So, Tamal, this is your live. I'm just a guest, so over to you, man. Do your
yeah.
thing.
All right, cool. So obviously, I don't know if everyone knows your story, but what do you specialize in and what do you do? Obviously, I think I know where it's buy to lets, but to anyone else watching, what do you do as a strategy?
Buy-to-lets, specifically the BRR model, so buying, refurbishing, refinancing, pulling out most of my money, sometimes all, sometimes a little bit more, and that's all I do. I have one buy to SA, but they're all buy-to-lets, and the next 20, 30 are going to be buy-to-lets.
Oh, very cool. So, how did you get started into buy to lets, and how can you chose that compared to HMOs or SAs or any other strategy?
Ooh. So I think
I didn't catch that. Could you try again? Apple, Apple
there's
Watch.
a third person in this live. Wicked. No, so I think like I looked at HMOs obviously because like cash flow and it's just like wow, this is great. You can really go to town on the designs. But I didn't want the management. I didn't want the I guess then the management of void periods of
Yeah.
legislation coming in, council tax banding, blah blah blah. I just didn't want any stuff to bother me. I just wanted it to be as passive and as like boring and vanilla as it could be to mean that I am as passive as it can be. So I mean, I looked at like rent to rent. I was going to do a rent to rent HMO, but then I kind of looked and said, actually, I don't need urgent cash flow to like quit my job or anything. I want assets, so let me go straight into buying assets. And I think it was because at the start I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to raise any money. I went and did rent to rent, but my mindset should have been yeah, I don't know what the hell I'm doing right now, but I know I can raise money. Let me pick a strategy that I actually want to do. So yeah, that's how I did it. Well, that's why I did it. Sorry. Was there another part of the question?
Yeah. So yeah. So the whole question was, why did you get into that compared to HMOs? Which I think you really answered. The next part of the question was, what's your why? So, what got you into property? Instead of continuing on with your normal job or whatever you did.
So I think it goes back to the passiveness. I think there's not many businesses that are as fun
Yeah.
as property and as sort of wealth and asset and physical kind of asset building. So it was really about like what can I do to be as passive as possible, but also combine my love of like creating things. So whether it's a new kitchen, new bathroom, designs, whether it's like stuff that I put on my Instagram, like I just want to do something that I could be creative, but then actually the time I put into it is going to pay me back over my lifetime, right? So I could start a business, I could sell a product, and that's great, and it could sort of pay me back over a while, but not like a property would over the next 60 years. So it was kind of based on the objective, sort of like right, this is property, it brings you income and cash flow, but I love creating stuff, so I kind of wanted to combine the both, but also have build something now that means for the rest of my life I can start whatever other business, can travel, basically just do whatever I like, and not have to be like, ah, shit, I didn't do 7 hours today. I'm not earning money. So just what I mean, that real kind of passivity and like freedom, basically.
Well, and in terms of your buy-to-let portfolio, is it all done through investors or is it most of it your own funds?
So it's done through mostly investors. I started off with about £40,000 on my own money, which then became up to date £600,000 of investor finance added to my 40 to then kind of grow using bridging and mortgages and bits of like, well, I wouldn't call it creative finance, but I'd say institutional finance as well. So a lot of it has been investors. I think, unless I had 600 grand or a mil to start with, there's
Yeah.
no way I've made it this quick, this far. I mean, if I started my own money, I'd probably have three or four now, maybe, which is still all right. Don't get me wrong, but big
Yeah.
difference to what is achievable.
100%. So, like, what do you look for when you target a buy to lets? Do you do the BRR method, or do you just buy any property? What's your little strategy?
Yeah, so I do BRR. I also flip properties as well. So, but again, it's very similar to BRR, except sometimes you can buy it for slightly more than you would or something you're going to keep because when you sell it, you get 100% of the sale. Whereas obviously refinance, you get 75 or 85 or whatever. So you can kind of sometimes pay a little bit more for a property if you're going to flip it, although obviously you want to pay like sort of, I guess, the minimum for a property anyway. Uh, so yeah, I'm always looking for deals that are below market value and I guess also more importantly, below what the end value will be, enough so that my refurb and my costs fit in that gap, and there's enough at the top end to make a profit or to pull most of my money back out. So I think you know what anyone who buys buy-to-lets or HMOs probably has a rough idea of we're looking for shitholes, but not too bad that
Yeah.
it's too much and not too little. But you kind of want something that is kind of bad because it makes it cheaper to refurb than buying a house that you have to strip out and take wallpaper off and I like the really rough ones because they're often.
What's your max price that you pay for a house? So obviously, I think I know that you invest more towards up north. I think Wales is probably your area, I'm guessing. So what's the max price that you normally pay for a house?
um there isn't a like I haven't paid more than £82,000
Really? Shit.
because the sort of yield and or what the return on cash and the flip profits sort of below 100 and then I guess from 100 to 150 are kind of similar. So I just say, well, let me just go in with, if I have this much capital, if I can do two of them and make double, or I can do one and make 1.5, I'll probably end up doing two. So, because of that, I guess I haven't gone past 100. I've had revalues, one, two, well, quite a few of them are going to be past 100 revals, but I just don't buy there because, yeah, I don't know. The yield is, I mean, it's still good there and whatnot, and it's still a good investment, but it's it's just not as good as like buying for less. So yeah, that's why I guess. But look, I'm looking at flips at the moment, not at the moment, in the near future.
Yeah, in the coming. Yeah.
Yeah, once we're out, kind of. I'm not sure which bracket yet, but it's probably going to be sort of 150 to 200 purchase, and then 200 to 250 kind of resale. So the profit's bigger. Because I've got some new investors who only want to spend X amount, and I'm like, yeah, that's that. Your minimum spend is a lot for me right now because of the properties I'm buying, and they want to have one deal. So because of that, I'm like, actually, now that we've got investors in this kind of area, like, let me just now flip bigger stuff, and then it's just. I guess I like playing at different levels of the kind of
Yeah,
spectrum.
so that was going to be my next question. In terms of your investors, what's your terms with them? Like, do you set up a separate company for each investor, or is it a profit share? How do you structure your investors or your
Sure. So
JVs?
out of those two, it'd be called like a profit share. There's no company. There's no getting into bed with random
Yeah.
people who message you on Instagram and say, "Do you want a JV?" after one message, which is just stupid. I have to
Mm.
say that. You have to know the person, and it is literally a marriage. You have it's worse than a marriage. Like you have to really spend time with that person and trust them and watch each other, right? So that's just a quick tip for anyone on Instagram who's like, "Oh, let's JV with everyone." No, be careful. Uh, so I don't do that yet. If I had like a big deal and it was like, okay, you know what? this is worth getting some more people in it, then I'll do that. But what I do is like loan or a fixed interest rate loan. So it's purely like a bank loaning you money and saying, right, here's the money. And in 12, 18 months, I want the money back and I want the interest. Happy days. Uh, I mean, some people are uncomfortable with interest. So then we call it a profit share and we work it out to be whatever it works out to be on the contract. But yeah, it's purely like a business to business loan arrangement agreement.
Yeah, so basically, so the investors put the money into your bank account, your business bank, and you're just giving this a set return per month, I'm guessing.
Or it's
Oh,
into the lister's account or however they like to do it. I'm not fussed.
oh, pretty cool. So my next question is, what's your future plans for the next 5 years of business, as in your portfolio and any other sort of, whatever you want to do in the next 5 years?
Oh, 5 years, a long time. I don't have. I have plans for the future, but when they get sort of when they happen, isn't sort of I guess time dependent. So I know that the traditional thing and what you should do is have a X year plan. So for me, it's more like a kind of I do like a 6 monthly plan with a yearly kind of big plan. But I'm kind of like, you know what? When I feel like it's the right time to switch, or when I feel like the cash flow's enough, and I'm comfortable with this, I'll switch. So I think the aim for this year it was from January to June to buy 3 properties a month. So obviously the past 2 months and the next month at least are write-offs. So I have bought stuff, but they are write-offs. So
Mhm.
really, I should have had a lot more properties by now. So for me, the most immediate goal, and I think someone asked this in the chat, is as soon as sort of Corona's done and the economy's a bit clearer, and I have confidence in what's happening, and I can say to my investors, yeah, look, we're good. I'm ready to take more loans. Look at the market. However long that takes, that's cool. I want to then get back to buying 3 buy-to-lets a month, at least for another 6 months. I look at blocks of flats in the future because it's like HMOs, but the humans aren't like touching and taking each other's chicken and like, arguing all this shit. They're just separate. And there's cool things you can do with freehold and title splits. And then, I mean, I will do like one development. I'll buy some mud and I'll build on it just because like I just love refurbs. So I just want to be like, I built a fucking house, man. That's cool. And then I'll build my own house later. But I kind of want to see that process and I just love construction and refurb. So that's kind of the immediate plan. In X many years, I'll start loaning my money out like a bridger and just not doing active work as such, and just giving it to someone like me and being like, "Can you do all the work, please? I can't be asked. Just I've done the work. Just fucking
Yeah.
give me a good return." So yeah, and then I want to start up a restaurant, restaurants, a garage, and there was one more, a branding agency maybe in the future. But like I said, I'm not fussed when they happen. It's just whenever I feel it's the right time, it's the
Yeah,
right.
it's funny you say that because my end long term goal is to have a bar and a restaurant as well. Because I think people will always need a place to eat food and have drinks. I mean, property is good, but with property there's a lot of there's a lot of competition, as in people can go and buy it. Whereas with restaurants, I think it's about having that one strong brand. And if you're there, and you've got a nice restaurant in place within a city or an area
Mm.
where there's not many around, you're pretty much doing a more job. So I think you've both got the same sort of idea there. My next question was, what's your one piece of advice for anyone starting buy to lets?
Mm. You are not going to get rich quick. You're not going to leave your job
Yeah,
quick. Everything's going to take longer. Everything's going to go over budget. It's going to take you from picking up, from putting an offer in to then getting a tenant in paying you cash flow. It can take 6 months. It can take 3 or 4, 5 months. Your agent takes your first month rent anyway. So, it is slow as hell. So be ready. And when I say be ready, mentally be ready to just be like, yeah, when am I getting paid? When does the cash flow start? With this shit,
yeah,
because you're gonna be thinking that a lot. But also have enough savings. Like it's not rent to rent, it's not SA. You're not gonna be like getting money within 2 weeks, getting the keys, signing an agreement, boom, boom, boom. I mean, yeah, best as solicitors, 14-day completions, 28-day completions. It ain't gonna happen. So just be ready to be a turtle for a while.
damn, that's pretty cool. So do you still work a job alongside what you're doing now? Have you still got full time?
No, so I used to have a recruitment business, which is
Yeah.
it's not really active. It's kind of semi-active, but it's not my full passion.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know you had a recruitment. So, would you say what you're doing now is the easiest strategy and the let's say the most easiest way to generate income?
No, it's not the easiest way to generate income. Rent to rent or rent to SA or deal sourcing is a good way to
Yeah.
generate income. You know, is it the easiest buying strategy to understand, to do, and to kind of be fairly safe and low risk in? Yeah. Um, but it's not the easiest to actually generate money.
So, what's been the most difficult thing about isolation, or what's the one thing that you've learnt during lockdown?
Um, you know what? Nothing has been too difficult. I think at the start I was quite upset. Tesco's ran out of the good pasta, the posh
Oh my
pasta.
god.
I was a bit like, yo, this when that happened, I was like, nah, this is serious. This is something's not right here. Recently, wholemeal flour. Anyone in the comments, West London, like TWUB, if you know people with wholemeal bread flour, I will pay black market rates. So drop it in the comments, send me your contacts. But as you can tell, not much has been that difficult. I think I'm used to, as much as I network and I'm out and about, I mean, really, I am at home and I don't really leave that much. I go networking, but honestly, like yeah, I go gym. That's probably my main consistent leaving, but I don't know, it hasn't been a huge difference. I think what I've learned as well, hmm, is that no matter how like little stimuli, emails, things happening you have as an entrepreneur, you can just create endless work for yourself. Like especially with social media, if you want, you can be busy forever. Like I thought, but like no, I am just giving myself endless tasks, and I could literally be busy for the next 6 months on lockdown. So there's always something we can be doing. Doesn't mean we should be doing it, but we can really do a lot when we're isolated.
Yeah,
Oh, and you get
same.
family a lot. That's good as well.
My Trello list is quite big. It's getting bigger day by day.
Same.
But I'm just going to go through some of the questions here.
We've got
So
quite a few. You might have to scroll like right the way up.
yeah, I'm not going to do any questions by Adam or Ruby because they're trying to.
Ruby actually asked a decent question. Big up, Rubes.
um, right. Which property training did you do? I don't know if you did any training or not.
No, I won a ticket, so I didn't pay to the Progressive Property Masterclass, and this was when was this? Years ago? No,
Oh,
maybe a year and a half or something ago. Um, did I take value from it? Meh. Would I have paid for it? Meh.
oh, cool. I just found Ruby's good question. So it was, why would strangers online want to lend you money even if you do have a brand? Is it the returns you offer? Is it the earn and learn? What's blah blah blah?
Yeah, so I think it's all of the above. So it's the earn and learn one. People see what I'm doing and they see the proof of it. They see the evidence. It's also on Company's House if people want to see it. And they're like, "Whoa, fuck me! I want to know how to do this, or at least I want to know how to do a tenth of what you're doing, or half, or 10 times what you're doing. Whatever people's ambitions are." So that's definitely one like key attraction is the earn and learn. But that's probably only got me like I need to work this out, but maybe like 30% of my total funding, maybe a bit less. So it's not been huge, but I'm still grateful and it's been good for what it is. I think one, it's the returns, but two, it's like people who invest in me usually have watched me for months, so it's never like, oh, Tej, you want 20 grand? I just saw you. It's like I've seen you for 8 9 months, Tej. I've got 40 grand. Thinking about you want 100, so because they see that journey and they watch things like this and they never comment, never say anything. I see you investors in this chat. Uh, like they then eventually, I guess it's like, with advertising or branding, the more you see the adverts, the more you see a company, the more reviews they get, the more people talk about them, the more you trust them. If you saw some random clothing brand, you'd be like, oh, just some scam. A few weeks and months later, you kept seeing it, you saw Drake fucking wearing it, you saw blah 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 blah, you'd be like, that's legit. I want to, do that. So Ruby is kind of a combination of all three, but it is a great question. Why do strangers want to give you money online? And I don't know. I'm trying to raise money from TikTok, so let's see what happens there. But that would be some fuck shit if I could do that from a dance video, innit? But yeah, it's a combination of all the above, the deal and the connection.
Cool. One personal question I wanted to ask you was, do you find these deals via Rightmove, or is it through your personal brand, or is it through ads? Have you,
No
or do you
ads,
do any ads?
no ads because I'm cheap, frankly, and I'm comfortable with the deal flow that I haven't necessarily bothered, but I am going to try it. Like once the sort of cash flow flips, I'm definitely going to try it because I'm like, whoa,
I'll
I
give you
love.
I'll give you a small tip. So on Facebook, you can run an ad where you can, instead of running a normal ad where you just boost the post or you run an ad on the post, you can run an ad where it's just form sign up. So they sign up to a
Oh, I've seen
form,
those. Yeah.
and Facebook automatically fills in the details. So all they do is click one button and it's swift. I've seen people do it on Facebook, and their leads are like that big. So it may be something you could try. I've never tried it because I don't, I don't need them sort of leads because I'm not sourcing for properties. I'm not looking for landlords. So they find me via Google searches. So it could be something that you could try out, in terms of your
Yeah.
investment areas.
Yeah, no,
Um,
definitely. It is on the list to do in whenever's the right time. But to be honest, the answer again is all of the above. I've had deals that are in plain sight right here on Rightmove, and then I've had deals, that are sort of off market. So I'd say recently it's been my personal brand, but before that, and still at the moment, it's like Rightmove agents. Yeah, it's everything. I will use any almost free source of finding properties that I can.
ah, wicked. So what age did you start property? That was from
Uh,
Millennial.
Same age. Was it same age now? It was 9 months ago. You can test my maths now. 9 months ago, full time, and yeah. So when I was 26, I believe I started learning when I was 25 and networking and podcasting. I think, yeah, 2018, yeah. And then yeah, so 25 I started, but 26 was when I started like full time property.
Wicked. I'm just reading this next question. Which strategy would you choose between deal sourcing to build capital, then BRR, or straight to direct to raising finance and building your own portfolio this way? So basically, what
Mm,
you're trying to say is, would you go deal sourcing to build capital, or straight to raising capital?
if you got rich friends and family, and or you're going to build a brand, which is a commitment, it's not just posting once a week. Then go for straight to raising, not straight to raising finance, but go for hopefully trying to buy the first with your own money, and then raising finance because you need a case study. Would you invest in someone who didn't have their own house before? I wouldn't. I don't think a lot of people would. So that's the first thing. Um, but generally speaking, I think deal sourcing to generate capital, but also to build strong relationships with agents, because even if you're sourcing the deal to me, right, that agent has no clue who I am. They don't give a crap. You are the person that walks into their office and says, "Yeah, I've just got your commission." You literally are giving them their payslip, right? So they're remembering you. So when it comes to you start buying for yourself after sourcing, these agents love you. They don't give a crap about me. I might have bought 10 through you, they don't care. Like you're the one paying them, right? So deal sourcing is fantastic for agent relationships, learning property and learning quite a big chunk of like what makes property investment. So I'm all for being a deal sourcer, doing it well, which 99% you won't. I'm going to say it. I'm in that fucking mood today, yeah? 99% deal sourcers are crap, right? And they're doing it as a stepping stone, which is fine, but they're not doing it right. So if you're going to do it right, you can make so much money and you can learn so much that the second you switch, you will just grow exponentially, right? Like I promise you that can happen if you do it well. So for me, deal sourcing is a great way to start if you do it right.
Brilliant. So how far is your nearest property, and what's your furthest property? So I'm guessing you live in London, right?
Yeah, so I would say from me, the furthest one is 185 miles. The closest one is is 110 miles, so between 2-ish to 3 hours from me, and then from each other, like about an hour
Right.
ish.
So obviously you've got agents managing them all, right? Yeah, you haven't got a, like a personal assistant or someone you're paying a wage.
No, so I'm managing them
Yeah.
because they're buy to lets. There's like no management. If something goes wrong, I deal with it. I speak to the RLA, and I text my tradespeople and say sort the shit out.
Okay.
Or what I'm actually doing is building, or I've kind of built the framework and the guide and the training and the flowchart for it, an in-house lettings VA who is kind of on demand. So have a WhatsApp, have an email that gets checked regularly. If anything comes in, he or she messages the tradesman, gets it done. I get an invoice, it's sorted, happy days. So I'm making it really passive, but I'll have oversight over that, and it will be a slow process. And then I need to speak to my accountant, but because there's 12 buy to lets now, and well, who knows what's happening to Krona, but I'm hoping for 20, 30, 40, 50. It may be the case that I open my own lettings agency to manage my own properties because I am a licensed agent now because of the licensing you've got to go through. So there's a few kind of considerations when you scale of things like that it could be more tax efficient to do that. Uh, so there's a few things around that, but buy to lets, I mean, honestly, there's even during Corona when I'm like sort of dealing with half rent now, half rent in a few days, have you lost your job, how's things going? I'm sitting there on my bed and I'm texting. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't really say that that's work or that it's not passive because money drops into the account every month. And if I have to fix something, the chances are that's my fault for doing a shit refurb. So as long as I do the refurb right, which is a bit more costly, there shouldn't be too much, there
Yeah,
shouldn't
issues.
be.
Yeah. So another one from Ruby. She's getting in on the question tonight. Three of the worst, hardest challenges, times you've faced in property, and how have you overcome them?
So the three biggest challenges I face in property,
Yeah.
how have I overcome them? The biggest challenge was dealing with terrible builders who literally I had a breakdown. I was mad. I was mad. Um, how did I deal with it? Got rid of them. Uh, semi-legal action
Or,
and found good builders who know how I operate. I know how they operate, and we have a great relationship. And it's been fantastic ever since. How did I deal with the breakdown? I broke down, and I was just like, "Fuck it, you know what? This is not getting better. It has to get worse before it gets better."
yeah.
So I went through that, and then it was just a case of being a stoic and being like, "Look, damage is done. I can't change it. Well, I can. I need someone to fix it, but I know what happens to people like that and where they end up physically, mentally, whatever. And I know what happens to people who take the right attitude that I believe I've taken. So I'm kind of just laughing because I'm like, I know what's going to happen to you and I know what's going to happen to other. You know what I mean? So it's kind of just one of those like karma pieces where you're like, well, bad things
Yeah.
happen to bad.
Yeah, what goes around
Um,
comes around. Quick one before we move on. Where do you find your builders? Do you use like check a trade or sites like
I
that?
found them. So I have two more points to make on that though. I found them from Facebook. Well, from recommendations via someone on Facebook who I know fairly well. Um, and then I found like quite a few through Facebook through recommendations. I emailed like 5 builders from Checker Trade. Not a single one got back to me. Um, and I put a good email together. It was like, look, I'm buying this many. There's this many opportunities for us to work together. Nothing happened. So I don't know. But to go back to Ruby's question, the other two challenges I would say are at the beginning was finding investment, but once I changed my mindset and I changed how I approached people and how I offered things, that kind of became straightforward. The third challenge, you know what? I had someone the other day who couldn't believe. So this was back at my 6th month point in property. I'd bought 11 properties, and some small-minded person online couldn't believe this. I physically couldn't believe it, and it kind of made me think: has it been that hard? And like, yeah, I think one of the challenges, but probably one I've enjoyed, is just having to work like a lot. Like not all the time. Like weekends are off, but like 5 days a week, work, 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 work. For a lot of people, if you've got kids, family, pets, you live with your other half, that's a lot of, you know what I mean? Like, it's not really possible. So it's a challenge. For me, it wasn't. But if you want to grow quickly, it comes with, you know, the fucking forehead wrinkles and the grey hairs, you know what I mean?
So the next one is from Maloney again, which is, what's the highest fee you got off a sourcing deal? Have you ever used this deal sourcer?
I bought my first two deals off Deal Source. They're both shit. And they both know that. It's very clear, and I speak to them. Well, I speak to one of them regularly. Um, there was something like one was 2.6, one was 3. Um, Both of them have left in basically the sourcing fee, so they're great deals, and I knew they were. And actually, one got valued a little bit higher, which is even better. But if that question was um, how much have I made off sourcing a deal? Nothing. I don't source deals. I buy everything I can. If I wouldn't buy it, I know someone else would still buy it. But yeah, I've never not been able to buy a deal that I wanted. I did get presented a deal like 2 weeks ago, but I said, Corona, end values weren't clear.
Yeah.
If it was, normal time, I'd buy it. I love, this area, but I didn't. So yeah, like I haven't made any money off deal sourcing. I've made money off. No, I haven't. No, no, no.
Cool. Next one is from Amanda, which is, ratio wise, how many do you view to agree on 3 purchases a month? Yeah. Ratio wise.
Yeah, traditionally, if you're doing a BRR and you're viewing and things are on market, you're probably looking at 100 to 150 viewings. But obviously that's crazy to do in a month. I'm probably looking at 0 to 10 viewings. What I mean by that is I'm physically sitting here and I'm getting these deals because of my personal brand, because I have people who are doing viewings for me, whether it's for a payment or whether it's for a pure exchange of like value. So they go view a house, 20 minutes of their time down the road. I will give them whatever knowledge, whatever help, whatever analysis they want that they normally have to pay someone for. I say, look, what's up? Talk to me. Let's do this. And I help them and sort of guide them. Or it could be 10, 15 quid. Here's a viewing. Or I get the agents to send me videos. I'm just like, oh, look, I can't make it.
Yeah.
I'm busy. Brackets. I'm lazy. And this works with agents who you've bought off before. I just say, look, I'm buying. You know what I mean? Like, can you please just send me a video because I'll offer without seeing it, and you don't even have to like take me to the house and like just send me a video. So I don't do many viewings now at all. I've also really, really reduced. I don't know. I think you get a gut feel for certain properties, certain agents, certain areas. I just know sometimes I see a property and I'm like, that's just not going to go for what I want it to. And so far, it hasn't. When I call the agent, or just say, "Oh, what did it go for?" or I see it later, it never goes for it. So you just build up a gut instinct where you're like, I'm not going to bother viewing it. And it's not the right attitude to have at the beginning. At the beginning, you need to view everything. You need to build this up. And actually, you should still do in my position. But I just, yeah, it's just inefficient. To summarize it, a lot of people say, "Oh, Ted, are you going to outsource your social media and your editing and all this stuff so you can focus on property?" And I'm like, I'm outsourcing the property so I can focus on the branding and the creativity and the media because that's the stuff I love. I mean, I still love property, but that's stuff I love. So I've naturally outsourced it, Amanda, to answer your question. But if you're starting out, you're looking at 40 to 50 offers. So maybe not viewings, offers to get one BRI accepted. I think that's kind of not widely known, but it's maybe widely accepted. I think there's a few books and a few big dogs like Susanna Cole, for example, who will quote this number, and I've experienced it firsthand.
Cool. So, how did you learn how to cost up a refurb in terms of pricing? That was from Rajan.
So I learned through sources, I guess. And here's a cheeky way: speak to deal sources in the area. Say I'm interested in deals. Look at their deal packs. Look at what they break the refurb down on. Take 3 different sources. Take an average, and you should have your kind of rough areas. I wouldn't ask a builder viewing with you. I wouldn't ask a builder unless you've secured a property. Even then, you need two or three. I think I also discovered it by asking, like I'd always be like, okay, we're doing this. But what if we did this, by the way? How much would it cost? Oh, that much. Okay, cool. So if I wanted to tile it instead of vinyl, what would it cost? Ah, okay, cool. What's your plastering cost per square meter? Oh, cool. And how much is it? And so I'm just very curious and interested. So I've naturally built up like, okay, I know how much that costs. I know what your day rate is. I know what this is. And then you eventually just know, but use sources, be really cheeky. There's a few builders on Facebook, like in various groups. Just say, if you're local, like, right, I'm gonna buy you Nando's. I'm gonna pick your brain, and just ask them. And you won't believe it. That one Nando's, £11.10 you're gonna pay, yeah, or 20 if you're buying for two. You will have a list of every single item that, like, of a cost of that, and
That's a
like
great good
no one does.
idea. Yeah,
No one does that.
I'm gonna have to try it soon if I ever do. So the next one is from Yard Capital. Have you ever scaled through merely raising capital, or have you JV'd a fair bit in order to acquire more properties at a faster rate?
No JVs, all private investor
Yeah,
loans.
cool. So are there any changes? Wait, I can't seem to read that question. I can't read that question. It was from
Who
B.
asked it?
It was from B Talks. It was are the any question? Are the
When
any changes you will be making in your business investment strategy post Rona? I think what she's trying to say is, are you going to be making any business strategies after coronavirus? I think that's what she's.
um yeah, like we're all gonna have to evolve
Yeah,
and but I can't say what that is or how it looks until I know what the market looks like and what my thoughts are on it, my confidence, and then I'll make a plan according to what I see. And that plan could change weekly, monthly, whatever. But yeah, naturally there'll be some sort of evolving, but I don't know exactly what it is yet.
Uh, do you think? So the next one is from Sam, which is: do you think companies will move to more home working? Does this lead to more empty office space, which then would be allowed to be converted to resi? So, do you think the future is changing in terms of how we work, in terms of offices, and that leaves obviously dead stock around?
Potentially, but at the same argument, the same sort of vein, you could say that that then also increases the need for office space in co-working because yes, working at home is great and shit, but a lot of people who are employed and have 9 to 5s don't want to work from home 5 days a week, 9 to 5, because like it's a bit shit, like you
Yeah,
haven't got the banter, they don't want it all the time. Everyone's like, oh yeah, we work from home is great. But a lot of people in an office, that office kind of culture and behavior is kind of what keeps people motivated and going. And I think if people are not in an office, a lot of people might realize they don't like their jobs or their bosses a bit more. So I think there's an argument for like everything. Yes, more office stock, but less because we work in stuff are like, well, all you people working from home, you're going to want to work in some hipster place with plants everywhere. So let's use that up. And then the governments might, I mean, the councils might say, no, we don't want this to be resi. We want it to be office. So let's push the high street, as dumb as the council are. And then there's an argument for everything. So I think it's too early, like, and I think if you're in London, in like startups, there is a big sort of working from home culture anyway, work from wherever already, and that's where we work and stuff come in. I think it's too early to call which way it could go, but it could go always at once.
so the next one was from Tobin. What's your view on property investors taking bounce back loans? I mean, personally, I've taken one. I don't see why not. So, what's your opinion, and have you taken one yourself?
I've applied for one. I'm waiting for my banks to be authorized. Starling and Tide. Starling's a
Okay.
lot closer for anyone who has it. Tide is probably a few weeks off, if they're going to get it. I think. I mean, look, what is it? 2.5% over six per year over 6 years. The first year is interest free. I mean, where the fuck are you going to get that kind of money that cheap anywhere? Like, the problem is if you're starting out in property, you haven't got much turnover. Um, if you're doing buy to lets, you definitely haven't got much turnover. If you're doing SA, then bloody great. There's lots of turnover in SA. So what people might find is you only get a couple of grand. What I'd say is, in your property business, is there ever a time where you're like, I don't need any extra money. I'm good. Probably never. You're always
Yeah.
probably like, I could do with an extra. So take it and use it for what you need. I mean, I don't know what the guidelines or restrictions are, but I'm holding it, and I'm not going to buy houses necessarily with it. Is my current plan. My plan is just to keep it as a cash reserve at very low interest, add to my cash reserve currently, and say, cool, that's my buffer. I'm ready for the next pandemic. I'm ready for people not to pay rent. I've got a few refurb bits and bobs that need covering, so I'm definitely going to utilize it when it hopefully comes through. So, I mean, yeah, it's cheap money, and as far as I can see, there's no implications on credit or judgment.
Mm.
I mean, 2.5% is ridiculous. Like, so I'll take it.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal. Angela asked, what license did you get, Tej? I don't know what license he's on about. Do
In
you know which one it is?
certain areas, you have to, like, they have selective licensing for landlords. So you have to get, like, a license to be a landlord. And if you want to manage your own properties or anyone else's, you have to get an agent's
Oh,
license.
right.
So it's through the, so that's the landline. If someone picks it up, you have to apply through like the government or like if there's like a governing body for like landlords, basically. Basically it's bullshit admin that means nothing. That's what it really is.
Mm. What's the price on that? What's the fee you pay?
I think to be a landlord it's like 30 quid a year, and to be a agent it's like 110, but it varies from area to area. Some areas are like
Mm.
expensive, some are not, but they pretend that they care about the tenants, and it's to make sure there's no rogue landlords, but they do nothing. They
Yeah,
just threaten
bollocks,
you,
yeah.
or you're not registered when they do nothing. It's just paper pushers, basically. Another paper pushing industry. What a surprise!
So the next one was from Kyle, which is, can you explain the BRR, Tej, in regards to money left in? I'm not sure what you mean by when you say that. Thanks.
Sure, Carl. So I have a video on my YouTube called BRR. Go and watch that if this doesn't explain it, because that's like 15 minutes of pure BRR. Let's do easy maths. You bought a house and you've bought it for 50 grand, but you know at the end it's going to be worth 100, or well, you've done your research and it says 100. You've then spent 25 grand on the refurb, on the costs, all that shit. So all in, you're in for 75 grand. Cool. You then get it remortgaged at 100 grand. Mortgage company says, yeah, happy days, worth 100 grand, kick the walls, yeah, that's got value. They then give you 75% of that 100 grand, and then you then get 75 grand back. And in this situation, what this means is you have no money left in the deal.
Yeah.
Like, that means that everything you put in, you got back out. So you're like, cool, let's go again. Now, if they valued the house at 97 and then they gave you, I don't know, let's say 75% of that, and let's say that was 70, you now have a deficit of 5 grand. So, that 5 grand is sort of is technically and non-technically left in that deal, because your original 75 you spent, you only get 70 back. But watch that YouTube video if that wasn't clear, but I hope it was.
Yeah, to be honest, that makes a lot more sense now. Yeah. Next one's from Ruby again. How do you vet investors
Sure. So,
to make sure they're not a dickhead or a drug dealer / liar?
um, you can't really vet for the first one. I think that's just like gut kind of instinct. There's a few things such as like doing a KYC, which is like know your customer. So going through like 6 months of bank statements, asking for them to state where the money's from, looking at their credit report if they're happy to do that, looking at proof of ID, proof of address. But also, to be honest, my solicitor does it most of the time. Like most of the time, it will be my solicitor sort of run. You can run like AML checks, and sort of like who is this person? I think they call KYC checks, and they're not expensive, and I have access to that platform as well. So often it's the solicitor who runs it, but I can also run these checks as well, if I need to. But you could have an investor that's a dickhead. I haven't had one yet. None of them are. I don't think any of them are going to be either. Um, you just sort of know from your initial discussions, you just know. Like there's some people when you have a conversation with, it's stressful, it's like energy consuming, and it's just you're having to just sort of like that's not what you want. If you come off the call like ugh, you don't want the person's money, you know what I mean? You want to come off the call like, oh cool, that's good, let's do it, you know. So your gut will tell you a lot at the beginning about if you should sort of take it further.
Yeah. So Ranjan asked, what made you change your strategy? He remembers when you said you wanted to do HMOs with Rich Little to purely BRR. So what made you change your mind?
That's a good memory. I remember that video. I remember saying that when we filmed that. Uh, it was just the management element. It was just, you know what? I really like BRRs. I need to build these up quickly because they're so slow. So I need to get as many as I can. I also, I just didn't want the extra outlay and the extra time on a HMO. Like, hey, that's not to say I won't have one, you know, in the future. Like, it'd be cool to design it, but you know, when or if that happens, that's a while away. So it was just doing what I'm good at and what works and what is going to be as passive as possible, really.
Hmm. That's a pretty good answer. Next one from Ruby again is, how would you deal with haters, backlash, comments that affect your inner vibes and energy?
I think the first point is you don't let it affect your inner vibes and energy. Like you can get annoyed and you can be anxious and you can be like, oh fuck, but as long as it doesn't affect your inner energy, which is hard to stop it seeping in, right? Like it's not easy to just be like, oh, okay, fine, that doesn't affect me, because certain things will. But what I kind of do is I kind of step back and observe my thoughts. So if I'm like, oh, that really annoyed me because of this, I'm like, hold on, Tej, why did it actually annoy you? Is it because of this or that? Okay, so I kind of have a conversation with myself where I'm like going through the steps logically, like, okay, why do you feel this way? What exactly is it? Okay, it's that. How can we fix that? But also, it's feedback. So, you know, like, if someone says something, at first I'm like, is
Mm.
that true? Do I need to do something? Is there a learning there? And if it's just pure bullshit hate, then I'm like, whatever. But if there's a lesson, I'm like, cool. Like, fair enough. You said it like a dickhead, but I appreciate the lesson. So, cheers, bud. Um, Most of the time I just block them because I'm like, well, you don't need to see what I'm doing. I don't need to see your negativity. I think you know what? Sometimes, as rude as it, I don't give a shit if it sounds rude. You just gotta laugh at them. You just gotta be like, you're on the internet, sitting
Yeah,
there. You haven't done anything or achieved anything. You're not likely to achieve anything, but you've got the biggest mouth ever. So instead of running your mouth, just sit back down and carry on being average. That is the kind of thought you have to have sometimes because there's a lot of people like that who have such a small mind and tunnel vision that they can't see. Oh no, how could Shamal do that in that time? Oh rubbish! How could Tej do that? How could
yeah.
Ruby do that? Oh no, because they can't do it themselves. So you know, it's one of these things. You just have to kind of be like, you live your life, mate, because clearly something is not right with them, mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever, that they want to come and talk shit. But the first step is take that feedback, and then I just laugh at them. I'm just like, see you later, innit? Like I'll see you in my rearview mirror. You know what I mean? Like bye.
So what's your method for calculating the end values of your properties? That's from Milo.
Um, so sold comparables have the strongest uh, but they're just the strongest type of data, and then selling comparables, and then speaking to estate agents in that order of importance.
Cool. Trying to get down. So why Wales and not Liverpool? I was a
Just
little bit of a tongue twister that.
if I
Why
lived
Wales?
if I lived near Liverpool in the Midlands, I'd be in Liverpool. I always say this. I'd invest in Liverpool, but it's distance. It's just too far. I just looking back, maybe I could have gone there because I've outsourced so much, but now I don't need to change area. So at the time, it was distance. Yeah, it was just distance.
So one of my questions was on your investors. Do you provide them a guaranteed return? Is it fixed, or do they understand that it's whatever's happening?
So there's always inherent risks with investing, but the interest rate that they get there, we agree, is what we agree. There's
Okay.
no, oh, sorry, I sold it for less, or oh sorry, my
Yeah.
tenant ran away. The interest rate is what they're getting. Yes, there's people who don't want to pay that, or who will just be like, oh sorry, I'm not paying that. But that's what we've agreed, and that's what I pay my investors back, is what we've agreed. Like, and that's the reason why I have a cash reserve X large, because I'm like, if there's some shortfall, I'm just gonna take out my savings, because like, why should I pay them less when, like, do you know what I mean? I'll just take out my savings, because that's what you do, right? They're investing their money in you. They come first. So yeah, sometimes you have to do that, but not everyone has the luxury of a big cash reserve or has thought, let me keep one.
That's pretty cool. Um, that's the end of the questions for now. If you've got any for me, give me a little shout. I'll answer a few. Um, yeah, just looking through. Oh, one more I missed, which was what made you not invest in Birmingham?
So yeah, I was going to. I love Birmingham. I think it's a great place to be. I got family there. It's just I like it, chilled, and there's so much happening. But that's why I didn't invest there, because it's so close to London. Everyone knows Birmingham. Everyone's comfortable with it. It's not like some rural place in Scotland that people are like, oh my god, I can't invest there. Everyone knows about it, especially rich Indians, and they are half the problem here. Why I didn't invest in Birmingham, because go to auctions, packed. You speak to agents, everything goes above asking. Like, it is so difficult. I've never met a like buy to let deal sourcer in Birmingham, and I think there's a reason for that, because it's so hard to secure these deals. And if you got one, you'd do it yourself. It's just, it was too hot, too much action, too much money. I couldn't find the deals at the right kind of levels and prices, and lack of competition. Yeah, I could have tried harder, but I just gave up early, because I was like, you know what? Why make my life more difficult? I mean, I'd love to be able to invest there, but it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. I mean, I'm sure it works on flips. It definitely does, and I'm sure it works on development. But for BRR, I couldn't make it work personally.
Wicked. Right. I think there's two more questions, but before I get you to answer them, Tej, I think we're going to be finishing off in a few minutes. If you could save it to your story so I can download it later. Is that all right? Yeah. Cool.
It says
So
we've got 7 minutes left before it kicks us off.
all right, wicked. So that's the last two questions, which is from Sam. He wants to invest his money in a property, but wants very little headache. Are commercial investments, for example, a dentist on a 15-year lease, a good idea over a house? That was the last bit of the question.
I don't invest in commercials. And there's someone called Ranjan Bhattacharya. He's got the
Yeah,
most YouTube channel. Go look at his page and look for advice on that. I would say that, yeah, if you can get a 15-year FRI lease with a dentist, with Lidl, with Sainsbury's, happy days. But you've seen at the moment that tenants commercially are not paying their landlords. Landlords are getting fucked. You've got business rates. You've got, if the house does go empty, what are you going to do about it? Yes, you can chase a dentist to pay you if they don't pay the rent, but what if they're bankrupt? You ain't doing anything. So as much as shiny as commercial seems, there are still risks to it. But it's I think there's some stronger covenants with the tenants and with the agreements you have, but it still carries risks. And could you get a tenant in for 15 years who never leaves? Easily in some places. And you could even get guaranteed rent by having universal credit paid directly to you. So consider both elements, but you're going to have some headaches at some point, especially at the start. But I'm not a commercial expert, so I'm just giving you a kind of, worst of both worlds.
Wicked. And the last one was on a BRR. Is it best to do the best job first of all, so no issues when rented out, or as long as the end value stacks? So I think what he's trying to say is, do you always try and aim to do like such a good job, or you try and skimp and save where you can?
You need to save where you can, but like save, she ends to save in a specific way. So, go for a lower end kitchen as long as it's the same strength and the same thickness of cabinet, but don't skimp on a rewire. Don't skimp on the boiler. Don't not plaster things. Don't not fix the lead flashing on the chimney. Right. So once you understand refurbs, you can know how you do it, right? You can know how it's going to work and where you can save, and so. But generally speaking, if you're having to skimp that much, then you've fucked up on the deal. And it happens, it absolutely happens. But in that case, skimp now, and then when there's a human in there and something leaks, and you got to get tradespeople in with a human, with their stuff, you're going to be annoyed when you could have done it on a nice empty house.
Yeah,
Upfront, bigger cost, but later, a less cost.
makes sense. So I think that's all the questions I'm doing. I'm not going to do any more. But for those who are watching, so I do SA, so service accommodation. We didn't cover it in this live, but that's what I do. So if you do want to ask any questions, you can. Tej obviously does buy to let, and this is the end of the live.
Amazing. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Tej,
Appreciate
thank you
it.
for coming on board, mate. Ta.